Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token ADA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and stake your ADA with the Into the Cryptoverse stake pool. You can find information on how to do that in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So we've talked about ADA on this channel since I think 2019. It was trading around 2 cents or so. I said it was a fairly good play for the bull market. And for this year, I've been fairly bearish on it. Okay. And one of the things we've watched, and we've looked at this quite closely. Let me switch this over to normal candles, but it's the descent of the ADA price in this bear market, and it's just been one rejection after another off of the bull market support band, or if you prefer, in a bear market, the bear market resistance band. And we are coming up to it once again. ADA is currently trading at around 50 cents. It tends to have these pumps around fairly major updates. We know we have the Hardfork coming out here in just a few weeks, but even with that, even if ADA were to see some type of a short-term move to the upside, I would remind people that when we're in this type of a market where everything feels kind of bearish, the Fed is raising interest rates into a slowing economy. The dollar is still going up. I mean, it actually hit 110 today. This is not the best setup for altcoins. Okay, now it has nothing to do specifically with ADA. I mean, ADA could have the best thing going on fundamentally, and if it's a Bitcoin bear market, the altcoins are likely going to be stuck in traffic on struggle street no matter what. So that is important to consider. But right now, ADA is coming in at around 50 cents or so. If you're curious where these resistance levels are on, say, the 20-week and the 21-week EMA, the 20-week estimate is at 52.8 cents. The 21-week EMA is at around 60 cents or so, just a bit over it. So if you were to see ADA pump to around 52 to 60 cents, I think that would be a fairly major milestone for ADA to get to, or to get past it, especially as the bear market for Bitcoin sort of just drags on and the dollar continues to move higher. Additionally, I mean, you can also have just a generic line sort of showing like, okay, one rejection here at, if I maybe can draw it a little bit more accurately, that'd be good. But, a rejection way up there, and then again, sorry, let me fix this. So, and a rejection up here at around $3, then again at $1.60, and then again at $1.20, and we're getting close to it relatively soon. But notice that every time it sort of comes into this trend line, it ultimately pushes the price down. So right now that trend line is all the way up at maybe just over 60 cents or so, but it's moving down relatively quickly. So I do think that ADA, for the next bull market, I think it'll be a fairly decent play. I think the hard part right now is just sort of getting through the bear market in one piece and trying to figure out how far the Fed can go before they really have to reverse course. And if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I'm fairly conservative on my predictions here. I think a lot of people are hoping that the Fed pivots this year and they start cutting interest rates, but I don't really see that happening. The earliest is probably sometime next year where we'll likely see something like that. And one of the things to remember that I think it's easy to get caught off sides on is, just because we know the general direction of where the Fed's going to go, it doesn't mean that literally every single day an asset or risk asset has to sell off. You'll still see bounces along the way. It's just eventually we'll get to the point where it seems like the pivot is in sight and the markets will rally in anticipation of that. And if you wait till the actual pivot to occur, the bottom for that asset is likely already in. But anyways, I did just want to provide a general market update to ADA and then go talk about ADA Bitcoin. So ADA Bitcoin is currently still above its 20-week estimate, and it's actually been holding it as support for a couple of months now. In fact, one of the few. Right, a lot of altcoins are actually below the bull market support band on their Bitcoin pairs. ADA is actually above it, And I'm wondering, just sort of, between us, right? I'm wondering if it's sort of like something like that, right, where it gets some type of a pump. One of the interesting things about this one, though, is that the ADA Bitcoin valuation came down over here, not because Bitcoin was going down, because Bitcoin was going up, and ADA just wasn't kind of keeping up with it. But there are some similarities, I think, in sort of the ADA consolidation, the ADA Bitcoin consolidation around the 20-week here, and then you get a pump up, and then it comes straight back down. We're sort of seeing something like that here again, right? Just consolidation around the 20-week SMA. Is it going to get a pump up and then a pump right back down? We have this pretty important update coming up here in just a few weeks, a hard fork. So I'm wondering if we're going to see something like this play out for ADA as well. The biggest headwind, though, is this pesky dollar, which is now continuing to go up, which I do think the path of least resistance for DXY is to continue to go up in the short term and medium term as well. And then finally, we can go check in on the ADA Ether valuation. This is always an interesting valuation to look at. And we've followed this chart for a long time. It's getting relatively closer down to sort of the bottom of the range. This is the primary area where I was buying ADA last cycle. Okay, because again, I do hold more Ether than ADA, and I hold more Bitcoin than Ether. So if I'm going to be buying an altcoin like ADA, I want it to feel like it's got a high chance of outperforming Bitcoin at the very least, but also Ethereum, right? If it's in the bottom of these ranges, then I'm a little bit more optimistic that it could actually outperform them. If it's at the top of the ranges, then I'm not nearly as optimistic that it can outperform them. So, if over the coming months, over the coming year or so, you see the ADA Ether valuations, come back into this range, whether it happens now, whether it pumps back up and then comes down here later, I don't know exactly, but I would keep an eye out for this range that it's been in the past, and that might provide a more attractive risk-reward play with regards to the ADA Ether valuation. But, this is just sort of like a fairly quick update. Bitcoin is still chilling just below $20,000. I'm not very optimistic on the altcoin market right now, as you guys probably know. But it doesn't mean you can't see some short-term pumps occasionally. So hopefully we'll check in on ADA later this year, maybe early next year, and it'll be a little bit more better view, right? A better view of the macro and hopefully the altcoin market. But for now, I'm sort of thinking that ADA has limited upside, maybe up to 60 cents. But even that is going to be, I think, somewhat difficult to achieve in these market conditions. The one thing that might pull it up, though, is also there is the ETH merge. Okay, so there is some hype around that might help pull it up to that level. But just keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that 50 to 60 cent range as potential resistance for ADA, just like it was, at 2 times that valuation earlier this year, right? I mean, we came up here at $1.20. And then now we're sort of coming up to it at around 50 to 60 cents. So it's like it's dropped in half once again. But if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe. Remember to stake your ADA with the ITC stake pool. You can find a link on how to do that in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.